this morning, actually this afternoon, because of yesterday, I had a conversation with my cousin, and she brought up a good point. She was asking me what angle we're coming in with this documentary, and we both know that it has to be a very personal story, personal experience, because I sat down and I wrote because this is really a documentary about the feelings that are stirred up in people. I mean, there's historical, there's scientific, there's spiritual stuff, but it begins with something is triggered in us about each other. So I remember when I came to the United States, I was very open towards African Americans, because I came, what did I want? When I look at my own personal story, what did I want? I wanted to give African Americans Africa, because I did a lot of studying back home about slavery and all that stuff, so I wanted to give African Americans Africa. But what did I find? I found that they weren't interested, you know. And then how did that make me feel? I mean, it made me feel shocked, I was hurt, and I was disappointed. And then what that did was it made me shut down. And I was hurt and disappointed by the fact that I felt like they had bought into the Western stereotypes of Africa. And I figured, if you're not that concerned, if you're not thrilled enough, if you're not excited enough to pick up a book and to understand what Africa is about, then why should I be caring about you? And so that leads to a shutdown and a redirect of my energies, which is what a lot of Africans end up doing, is they spend a lot of time amongst European or Caucasian or Asians, because there's more of an interest amongst those groups about Africa. We're more interested in each other. And so then you kind of just close off whoever's not interested, because it's all about energy vibration. You want to spend time with somebody who's interested in spending time with you. And so, you know, you find that you shut that down. But then I got to that point where I found that in shutting down, then I bought into the stereotypes about African Americans, to see how that happens. So we both have not negative ideas about each other. And I got to a point where I just needed to find out, for me, like, why was I buying into? I mean, I know I'm hurt and everything, but why am I? There's this tug of war. There's a part of me that wants to still give Africa, and there's a part of me like, they don't care. I don't care about them. And became such a conflict. And I was just, and so for me, what ended up happening was at the University of Wisconsin, where I went in Green Bay. There's a merging that happened between Africans and African Americans, and just the African Americans who were interested, you know, we didn't bother with the athletes, because the athletes really weren't interested. Everybody was just interested in getting a blonde girlfriend, and that was it. So we just didn't really care. But the few who were interested, there's a merging that happened that exists to this day, to the point where one of my brother's best friends is an African American, and he came after me. He came about 2 or 3 years after I was at the university. So something has lasted in there. But then I got to realize that when I came here, I had a very romantic idea of what African Americans were. And I wanted to give them Africa. I'm going to give you Africa. But what I didn't realize is that my understanding of African Americans was the Africans who were taken. Because when you read about slavery, you read about the Africans. You don't read about the African Americans. You read about the Africans who got on the boat and who landed here, and then they picked cotton. That's it. You know, and I read the story of Frederick Douglass, but I was still looking at them as Africans.
And see, here's, if I may, jump in. This is where the argument comes in within the African American community. The argument of, we are still Africans. We have not changed. We were dropped off. We're still here. Versus, we created our own culture. Yeah, we came from Africa, but we're not really Africans. We have the blues, we have jazz. This is our culture right here. So even within the African American community, you have that argument. That's a constant diatribe that even Professor Menashe touched on a little bit. Yeah, identity. But, you know, I don't know if there's a right or wrong. It's just an argument that's out there right now. It has been out there for a while.
But African Americans are different. It's African Americans in essence really are just another tribe of Africa. And it's a big tribe. But it may not just be one. Maybe different tribes. Maybe a lot of tribes, because a lot of different tribes came over. Why shouldn't they end up being different tribes of people? You know? Yeah. It wasn't like they picked the Luo and brought them over.
True.
No, they pick different tribes.
I was once told that each African American, I just have to look this up, but each African American has at least 18 different cultural groups in their bloodline coming from Africa, and not to count out either white, and even with white could be German, Irish, and Native American. So, but it just focusing on the continent of Africa, there's at least 18 different cultural groups within.
That's possible.
Yeah,
that's possible.